Major updates to the FTC and how it's going to affect YouTube, not just YouTube Kids, and also not just YouTube. This is probably going to trickle down into other platforms, and the FTC could even come directly for you. We'll talk about that in a second. And we're going to talk about how to better determine what is kids content, what isn't, and how YouTube's going to determine this, if it's at a channel basis or a video by video basis. There's obviously a huge shakeup after that multi-million-dollar fine that FTC brought down on YouTube. So we got a lot to unpack here, and I've also got a lot more details in this video about how it's going to affect kids' content, how you can go about adjusting so you can hopefully sustain your channel. Definitely leave me your comments throughout this video on what you think on these different situations, these different changes. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, any solutions, so we can all help each other out. A lot to talk about here. Let's jump right in. I'm Jesse with Inspire Video Marketing, where I show you how to build YouTube-based business. First of all, this change, like a lot of people are upset at YouTube and they're saying YouTube, they're ruining the platform. Why are they doing this? And I'm here to tell you, like, look, it is not YouTube deciding to do this. They got hit hard from the FTC, which, if you don't know what that stands for, it's the Federal Trade Commission, which is the U.S. government, the United States government. YouTube is a United States-based business, and YouTube has most of their viewership coming from the United States, right? So it's obviously having a big impact on them. They can't sustain their business if they don't listen to the FTC. They have to. They had this huge fine. Obviously, it's going to affect their bottom line getting these fines, but on top of that, these changes are going to affect them. So they're doing what they can to help kids creators out and help creators in general out. So a lot of details on that coming in this video, but that's the first thing is, look, the FTC is bringing this down onto YouTube, and the reason I want to make sure that's clear is because this is probably like something that's going to start happening on other platforms, right? A lot of times what happens with these kinds of fines is if the FTC puts a fine on one company like YouTube, then other companies are probably coming next. So we could be looking at possibly, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that. Facebook already had their share of issues, right? So it's just kind of an evolution of regulations with the internet in general, right? Things are starting to become more restricted and refined as far as what the laws are. So take from that what you will. Now, here's the thing, with YouTube, when it started out, it was based around creators that they had to open an account. You had to have a verification that you were 13 years or older. So if you wanted to have a YouTube account, you had to say, I am 13 years old or older. Well, what ended up happening was parents, would give their kids their iPad or their iPhone or whatever to watch videos, and little by little, people were on these adult accounts. You have to be, or I shouldn't say an adult, but like a 13 and above age group to watch content on YouTube. And when kids started watching from their parents' device, that kind of started messing with things a little bit, because then kids creators started coming out of the woodwork, right? And kids advertisers started pushing ads on these kids' content because they knew there was a chance of making good money. And that's where kind of FTC has the issue, is with these targeted ads being geared towards kids on kids content. A lot of people right now, they're scared, right? They're completely terrified that their channel is going to go away. They're not going to be able to make any money, or they're not going to get any views. And then there's some people that just think like, oh, this is no big deal. It's whatever. I'm not really worried about it. It probably won't be an issue for me. And the answer is probably somewhere in between both of those. Like, I wouldn't take for granted that your content's okay. I'm going to give you some more things in this video to help you get an understanding of what probably will get cracked down on and what won't, and where the issues lie and how it will affect you, because it's a complex situation, or it's not just like, well, I have kids in my videos, so it's for sure a kids channel, or it's not, I play kids video games, Roblox or something that's kid focused, so now my channel is going to get demonetized. It's not that simple, and it's not even that you're going to get demonetized, for that matter. We'll talk more about that in a second. But the first thing that you have to understand is that ads won't be targeted anymore. So that was the big thing with the FTC ruling, is saying, hey, you can't have targeted ads on these videos for kids. What that means is you're probably going to end up making less ad revenue on your videos, because those targeted ads are the ones that advertisers love to run, because they know they're going to get in front of the right audience. So what's going to end up happening is there's going to be a push more now for advertisers to get more contextual ads on kids' content, which typically you're not going to get as many ads on your content or make as much money from those ads. But YouTube is going out of the way. So like, here's an example of YouTube trying to help the creators out because it's in their best interest. They're going out of their way to like start promoting to advertisers these contextual ads. So hopefully kids creators can, make up for the making less ad revenue by getting more of these advertisers doing contextual ads. Now, it probably won't end up being as good of revenue. So it's something that you have to prepare for. Near the end of the video, I'll give you something that'll really help you with trying to even things out financially if you're making less ad revenue. So that's really important. But you've got to make sure you keep in mind that your ad revenue is probably going to go down. YouTube's doing their part to try to bring more ad revenue in for kids creators and kids content, but there's no guarantee. I wouldn't count on that money. In fact, I would almost count on it being less, quite a bit less for a while. Maybe eventually as time goes on and more advertisers start bringing contextual ads on kid-friendly content, then maybe, you could maybe get to where you were. Maybe it might end up being more, but I would count on it being less, at least from the get-go, and even long-term, probably less. The other thing to consider with this is how it will affect other creators. So if there's less of these targeted ads on kids content, then that means other creators are probably going to end up getting more ad dollars. So, one man's trash, I guess, is another man's treasure. Maybe that's not a good analogy, but basically one person's kind of getting the short end of the stick. I think that's a better analogy. And then other creators will end up getting more revenue. So if you're a creator not making, kid content, then you stand to probably make a little bit more money. Again, we'll see how this plays out. There's no guarantee on it, but those advertisers still have to make sales, right? So they're going to still do their marketing somewhere. So if they can't put it on this kids content, maybe they'll find somewhere else to do so. The next thing we got to talk about is the notifications and the comments going away for kids content. You're not going to get your comments. I mentioned that in the previous video where I talked about that, and there's not going to be notifications. So obviously that's going to hurt your bottom line, right? That's going to make it so you don't get as many views. If people aren't getting notified, you're not getting the community interaction, all that stuff. Like, it's going to negatively impact your channel, the sense of community, people coming back for video after video and watching your video right after upload. You definitely want to make some adjustments on that side of things, finding ways to get people to know about your content through other communication forms. Maybe getting comments going. I know in my previous video on this, which I will link you to at the end of this video, a lot of people had some really good ideas on that. They said, well, I'll just put my YouTube videos on a website page and they can leave their comments there. Or I'll put it on Patreon and people can leave comments there. So those are some good options right there. I'll have some more options for you near the end of the video, but like those are some really good ones right there. Like, the only thing to consider with that is it's not, when people are on YouTube, they're not going to probably watch the video and then go to your website. They would have to just go directly to your website probably. The percentage of people that are going to take the time to do that is probably pretty low. But one thing to consider with that is if you do another tactic, which someone mentioned in the comments, which would be, hey, I'll make like a teaser video for the YouTube video and say, hey, if you want to watch the full video, click the link in the description, and then that'll take you to my website or my Patreon or whatever, and then people can leave their comments there, which is, I think is a good idea, an interesting idea, and it will work to some degree, but you got to keep in mind, a large percentage of people still they won't click, right? And there's a couple of things wrong with that as far as how the algorithm works. YouTube promotes watch time typically, so if you have a really short teaser video, then YouTube's not going to promote that video as much in search and suggested, probably, and you're offloading traffic. You're sending people off of YouTube, which would end their viewing session, which is a bad signal again. So between those two things, those teaser videos probably wouldn't perform as well. So it is a workaround, but I don't know how well it would work. I guess it's something worth possibly trying out, but I think I have a better solution I'm going to give you near the end of the video. So the next big thing is YouTube came out and said that, look, it's going to be determined on a video by video basis. This is huge, if the content is kids or not kids. So what this means is if you put a video out, you're going to be able to have the option to check mark, yes, this is kids content or it's not kids content. I don't know, if they're going to have you check that it isn't kids or how that'll work, but one or the other, you get to select it at the end of the day is the most important thing to understand. Now you can, and they're doing this as a way to help creators out. If you know, okay, I'm just going to ride this out. I'm going to make my content for kids that are 13 or people, I should say 13 years and younger is what they're considering kids, the FTC and YouTube. If that's all you're going to put on your channel is content that's for 13 or younger, YouTube is going to give you the option to just say, hey, my whole channel is 13 years and younger, everything I'm going to put out. So that way you don't have to keep clicking that box. So it's just their way of giving you like some convenience. Now, here's where things get a little more of a gray area, and you've got to do some determination on this, maybe possibly even talk to a lawyer if you have a lot of followers and subscribers. So as far as how to determine if your content is for kids or not for kids, that's going to be something that you want to look at it through the eyes of the FTC. Right? Because the FTC is really the one enforcing this. I shouldn't say, they're the ones pushing this on YouTube, and YouTube's pushing this on you, right? So this isn't YouTube's decision. So YouTube's got to do their part to keep you from getting fined and themselves from getgetting fined, right? So all of this is like from the FTC down. So you have to look at things from the eyes of the FTC. What are they going to consider to be kids content, and what are they going to consider to be adult content or 13 and up content? So you got to look at your content from that lens. Now, I'm going to give you some sort of guidelines here, but again, like I would consider looking to a lawyer if you are making a lot of money on YouTube or you've got a large presence, especially. But either way, I wouldn't, if you feel like you're in that gray area, I would err on the side, if you can't afford a lawyer or to know for sure, I would err on the side of pushing things with that checkbox or whatever they're going to have saying, okay, yeah, this is for kids, and keep yourself safe. So there's a couple things to consider with this outside of just you making it clear to YouTube with the checkbox or whatever they're going to have that your content is for kids. They're also going to be using their machine learning. Like YouTube has this thing called Google Brain, which with that, they can do a whole bunch of stuff. First of all, whether you caption your video or not, YouTube captions that video. And they can look at the words in that video and what's being conveyed, the messages, and they're getting really good at like understanding language. So whatever's in your video, they can have a good understanding of who that video is geared towards. So even if you say, oh no, this video is not for kids, this is for adults, and it's clearly a kids focused video, YouTube's going to know that from that. They're also able to look at your video, literally frame by frame. They're able to look at your thumbnail, and from that, get an understanding, and your title, what the video is about, who it's geared towards, what's happening in the video. So like, you cannot game this. Do not try to game this. You are just going to be getting yourself in a world of trouble, shooting yourself in the foot. You will thank me later. Well, you won't thank me later because nothing will happen if you err on the side of, okay, this is probably geared towards kids. I'm going to let them know that. Let them know. So with that being said, how do you determine, is it for kids or not for kids? Well, first of all, one thing you want to look at is how much are kids in my video, right? If you have kids in your video and they're like the primary focus, then yeah, it's probably something that I would mark as for kids. Now, if it's more content where maybe it's a family vlog and the focus isn't just on the kids, then it might be, okay to say, okay, this is more just for everybody. But if it's mainly kids in the video, you definitely want to err on the side of, okay, this is a kid's video. Again, it's a gray area. I can't tell you like what percentage of kids being in the video or not being, like we don't know. We don't know what the FTC is going to think. We don't know what YouTube is going to think. But at the end of the day, if you want to try to, make your content not be for kids so you can make more ad revenue and get your comments and get your notifications out there, then you want to try to have less of the kids in the video. I'm not saying to just eliminate them, because if it's a family vlog or whatever, like, yeah, they're part of the family. But I wouldn't make them the main focus. Another great question is, people asked me in the comments of the previous video, what about videos with dolls? What about videos with video games that are like kid-friendly, like, Roblox or something like that? What about toy reviews, but it's more for adults? Adult toys, like action figures maybe, or something like that, but it's geared towards adults, or like comic books for that matter, right? Like kids can read comic books, but there's a lot of adults that love comic books. So one thing you'll want to keep in mind with this is, what is the nature of the video? How are you conveying the message? Who is your audience that you're trying to reach? Now, with your videos, if you can try to gear it more towards adult and make it as a clear that it's for adults or 13 and above as possible, then you're probably going to be good to go. Now, another thing you want to keep in mind with this is, what are your audience demographics? Like, if you know there's a lot of people watching your videos that are 13 and younger, you have a couple options. You either go all in on that and just try to make the best of you can with it, with the things I'm going to give you near the end of the video. But if that's not an option, and you're kind of teetering at that line where some of the people are closer to 13, 10, 11, 12, then maybe ask yourself, how can I make this content a little bit more adulty? You know what I mean? Like the message, the way you convey it. Like with some of the doll reviews that someone mentioned, like you could say this is, for doll collectors, adult doll collectors, or for like Roblox and things like that. Like the way you convey your message. Like, are you talking like kind of kiddie fun, or are you having things a little bit more edgy? You know what I mean? I'm not necessarily saying to swear in your videos or anything like that, because then you could have issues with not getting monetized from being not advertiser friendly for certain advertisers, which I will link you at the end of this video to another video I'll have. It's either going to be out before this video or after shortly. And that video will be about the possibilities now for that kind of not suitable for all advertisers, the yellow dollar sign, how those creators could potentially start to make some more money. But that being said, I wouldn't say to start just go swearing in your videos. I'm just saying gear the content contextually and the way you present things a little bit more towards adults. Now, here's where things are crazy. FTC has cracked down on some individual creators. Now, if you know, like the multi-million-dollar fine that they put down on YouTube, like you obviously know you don't want to mess with them. That's a lot of money. You don't want to have that as an issue. FTC has came with certain creators having like brand deals and things like that, or sponsorships, and they're looking at that as being a form of targeting kids with these ads. So you probably, if you've got any brand deals, if you've got any sponsors, you definitely want to make it extra clear that those videos are sponsored. Be very open and transparent about that. Make it very clear at the beginning of your video. The better you can be at that, the less of a chance probably you'll have with the FTC. Now, again, like with this kind of stuff, like the FTC is no joke. It's from the federal government. So like if the federal government's coming for you, like you're not going to stand much of a chance in court, right? So you want to be proactive on this. Get a lawyer involved if you're making a lot of money, you're getting a lot of views. Like they've went at bigger creators with this. I should clarify that, but I wouldn't say just because you're a smaller creator that you're in the clear. But that being said, like if you have a lot to gain or lose by this, and you're putting out lots of videos, getting lots of views, have big sponsorships, talk to a lawyer. Make sure you're proactive about this so you can fit your stuff within the guidelines, your content within the guidelines of what the FTC is going to be okay with. I'm not going to sit here and give you too much advice on that, because at the end of the day, I'm not a lawyer, right? And I'm not the FTC. So talk to someone that's super knowledgeable in that, but I want to just make sure you're aware of it, that you do want to keep that in mind and be aware of that situation. Now, before I give you some more of those solutions that I was mentioning earlier in the video, I think there is a silver lining to this to some degree. Now, before we talk about the silver lining, let's talk about what the next few months and years are going to look like. I think, when anytime there's big changes to any platform, YouTube especially, but any platform for that matter, there's going to be some growing pains, right? Some of them just collapse and go under. I don't see that happening with YouTube. I think YouTube is too big. It's the second biggest search engine. People watch hours of it for entertainment, and it's more than just YouTube Kids, right? There's a lot more going on. Same with Facebook. I don't think Facebook's going to go anywhere anytime soon. But there's going to be this transition period with all these changes where things are going to be difficult. There's going to be some struggles. So a lot of figuring out on YouTube side of things. Creators are going to have to do a lot of figuring out. There's going to be changes in how, with how ads are targeted and what kind of ads are being put out there. There's going to be a lot of trying to figure out what's kid friendly from the creator side and from YouTube and from the FTC, right? But as things go along, it's going to become more clear and more refined, and creators going to get better. Like you are probably going to get better at, okay, this is what I can do. This is, the rules, and this is how I can make content that allows me to do what I love, make income if you're making income, all that stuff, and be completely legally okay. And part of this just comes down to, the internet in a way for a long time was kind of the wild, wild west. And I feel like right now in the last 2-3 years, we're starting to see more government regulations from Europe, United States, pretty much everywhere. So with those changes, there's obviously going to be some growing pains for everybody involved. But once we've all got that figured out, I think it's going to be a better experience for everybody. It really will. We'll have a better understanding of who's watching what, being able to get in front of those right audiences, get rid of a lot of these legal issues as far as, okay, what's allowed, what's not. Right now it's pretty much for how long it was, pretty much anything was allowed. Now there's a little bit more refinement to it, and that's okay. At the end of the day, it's the FTC is putting these things in place with the intention of trying to protect people, and your data and the targeting and all that stuff. I'm not saying the FTC is necessarily the good guy or the bad guy. I can understand why a lot of people would think they're wrong in doing this, which, if that's the case, feel free to reach out, to any way you can to make your voice being heard. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But once I think you've adapted, you'll be able to come out on top with this if you adapt. Like, don't just look at this as it won't affect me, or don't look at this like, oh, YouTube is cracking down, I'm done, I quit. I think it's just a matter of saying, okay, what are the adjustments I need to make, and making those adjustments no matter where you are. If you think your channel is just not worth doing anymore, or whether you think that it's not going to affect you, I would treat this as, yes, it will affect you, but you can come out and still succeed on YouTube. You definitely can. Now, that being said, I have some solutions for you on this, and I also will have the video on how you can possibly make more money from YouTube non-advertiser friendly content, because as we know that not all advertiser friendly content was not getting as much money. Well, YouTube's possibly looking into some things to help with this. So I will link YouTube video down below on, first of all, the first one is going to be the FTC ruling, and then that goes into some detail as far as the initial ruling that they made and kind of what YouTube came out with, and then also some solutions that I give you that will help you overcome that so you can make more money with YouTube and sustain your following and whatnot. Whole bunch of solutions to keep the views going. If you have an income going, keep that going and possibly make 10 times more money than you are right now. So definitely something you'll want to look at. Below that, I'll also have the video on how the content that's not advertiser friendly for all advertisers, how you could potentially make more money with that. So exciting news there for some creators. So it's kind of a mixed bag right now with YouTube. Check out both those videos down below. Definitely, once again, leave me your comments. Let me know what you think about these changes, how you plan to adapt, any solutions you have. And as always, subscribe and turn on all notifications to catch the newest videos. I'm going to keep you guys updated with any other changes. Go inspire someone today. I will talk to you guys soon.